With the current world population approaching 7.52 billion people, we are reminded daily of the thousands around the world dying of malnourishment and starvation. And we have to ask ourselves, how are we ever going to feed 9 billion people? Truth is, we already can. In their paper, World Agriculture in 2030 and 2050, Nikos Alexandridos and Jel Brunsma state, I quote, "Food security is only weakly linked to the capacity of the world as a whole to produce food," unquote. So then, why is feeding everyone such a concern? And what can we do about it? Madam Chairperson, honorable judges, friends, family, guests, and fellow speakers, Alexandridos and Brunsma predict that by 2050, across the globe, the average person will consume 3,070 calories per day when compared to the 2,350 average calories estimated to be adequate for most. With a population of 9 billion people, we're looking at roughly 28 trillion calories in a day, which equates to roughly 179 billion pounds of broccoli. Or, if you're not big on broccoli, 47 billion Big Macs. That's a lot of burger flipping and a lot of resources. It's no secret that the world population is constantly growing and that the Earth, well, isn't. Unfortunately, there isn't really anything we can do about this, and while feeding the world has always been a concern to some extent, it seems to be growing at a more alarming rate than ever. In Food Sustainability, Problems, Perspectives, and Solutions, Tara Garnett outlines 3 general approaches to the issue of feeding a population of 9 billion people. Production, which identifies the need to improve the efficiency of all processes involved in food production. Consumption, which addresses the need for dietary change. And socioeconomics, which looks at the governance of the food system. This is a start, but it still begs the question, where do we even begin? To me, it seems most rational to go back to the basics, take an approach that can form the foundation on which to grow and expand all these areas of concern. I'm talking about education. Do you remember being responsible for growing a bean plant? The plastic cup, the wet wad of paper towel, and the little bean seed? We learned about plants, germination, and how they grow, but that was pretty much the extent of it. I can credit most of my gardening knowledge, as well as cooking and preparation of fruits and veggies, to my mom and being raised on a farm. Unfortunately, many kids don't have this exposure, especially in urban areas. We can't really expect people to be able to feed themselves properly when they were never taught how to do so in the first place. While some might say this should be the job of the parents, this lack of nutritional education has progressed so long that many parents themselves do not possess the knowledge to pass on to their children. If we start at the bottom, perhaps we can encourage kids to make healthy decisions and reverse the detrimental effects of lack of nutritional education. We could encourage these programs in school, as well as support community greenhouses and gardens where parents too can get involved. This may be starting small, but this could be the key to decreasing overeating and increasing proper nutrition, and in turn improving personal well-being and improving global nutrition. Besides, what little kid doesn't like playing in the dirt? If people were to eat properly within their necessary energy intakes, it would seem that we'd have plenty of food to spare for the malnourished. While production is an area of concern, with proper eating, it may not be as big of an issue as some might think. A large factor, though, with production is transparency, sharing how we are expanding and improving production. We need to educate people, spread the word, that GMOs and genetic engineering are not terms to be feared, but rather embraced. People fear the unknown, but through the processes of genetic modification, we're able to create plants that are more resistant to extreme weather, such as drought, tolerant of certain pests, decreasing the use of pesticides, and increase their yield and nutrient content, making them go further. While some oppose GMOs and other evolving production techniques, we cannot forget that the world too is constantly changing and that we must go with it if we don't want to be left behind. We also wouldn't want to leave behind our fellow people, as in those in underprivileged areas of the world. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. This is directly applicable in this scenario. Rather than concerning ourselves with both supporting our own population and feeding those in the third world, why not provide them with the education that enables them to be self-sufficient? Organizations such as the Nippon Foundation and the Sasakawa Africa Fund for Extension Education already embrace this mentality and are working to provide agricultural education in parts of Africa. This is definitely an area to continue focusing efforts, as Norman Borlaug, Nobel Prize winner and father of the Green Revolution, predicts that yield crops as of 2002 could be increased by 100 to 200% in Africa and 50 to 100% in other underproductive areas of the world, including Latin America, India, and Eastern Europe. By spreading knowledge about most effective planting techniques, fertilizing, harvesting, and processing and preservation, we can empower these people to provide for themselves and build their markets, both within their nation as well as around the world. This would also be beneficial for the environment and sustainability, as increasing yield would decrease the amount of area required to produce the same amount of crops. All these areas, and this is only a start, there are so many other topics I have not even touched that could be elaborated on. The most important thing to take home today is that feeding the world is about more than just producing enough food. It's about feeding the world properly and sharing our resources. We can do this. We just need to adjust our ways of thinking and put the collective need before our own. Then, feeding a world of 9 billion people should be a piece of cake. Like that innocent little bean sprout in your cup, we all have to start somewhere.